Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar where we'll be talking about e-learning in the face of the coronavirus. And so, e-learning is about using technology to facilitate learning anytime, anywhere, and it lends itself to every industry across the board. And especially in these critical times that we're facing, the challenges of a global pandemic, it facilitates every type of learning with the application of technology. And so organizations are using e-learning because it allows them to scale, it allows them to save, and in times like these, it allows them to let learning go on. And so it allows our learners to have self-guided learning through a course. Organizations find that e-learning is helping them to spend less, that learners are learning more, but what we want to explain to you is that there are several modalities in e-learning. And so the content will determine what type of e-learning solution you use. And so as we work better and the content is there, some of the modalities include things like modules or courses, videos, graphics, gamification, virtual instructor-led training, webinars like these, social forums, podcasts, and real-time polling. So it's about the learning experience, as you know. And so technology is the foundation, the backbone of that. And so it's a catalyst of e-learning today. And so today we'll be discussing that. And so we have a couple of presenters who will be sharing with you. We have Michael, who will be talking about the Radix video solution. From my team, we have Hugh Cargill, who will be talking about the Edco soft solution. And we have my partner and friend, Janet, who will be talking about the future of learning, as well as sharing with you about the Learning Academy. So Janet is going to talk about how individuals and businesses can leverage learning during this challenging time when persons are being asked to self-isolate and practice social distancing. And so this morning, it's my distinct pleasure to first introduce Janet Stewart, who is one of Canada's leading experts when it comes to designing, building, and deploying online learning solutions to meet the training and educational needs of the organization's employees and customers. Janet is a learning experience designer with more than 30 years in the industry, and she has a diploma in adult education from St. Francis Xavier University and is an active member of the eLearning Guild and the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. Janet, over to you.
Thank you, Valerie. As Valerie mentioned, I am a learning experience designer. That means that I work with companies who need to create training for their employees or their customers, training that they cannot just go out and buy easily in the marketplace, because the training deals with very specific information about their in-house policies, practices, procedures, or even their products. And so they need to work with someone like me to design, build, and deploy that training. And although I spent more than 2 decades designing training for the in-person classroom, during the last 10 years, my team and I have become specialists in designing learning solutions for the online classroom. The learning landscape has really shifted, and as countries make the transition to the digital economy, so must the learning landscape of all nations. In fact, in the past 7 days, because of the rapid spread of COVID-19, the coronavirus, many companies, many organizations, and many educational institutions are trying to make a rapid switch over to e-learning. In previous decades, when you wanted to access training and education, it meant showing up at a particular time and place, and it may have even required you to coordinate travel, accommodation, and meals on site. Scheduling could be a difficult and expensive task. Invariably, for many persons, that meant they just had to sit it out. It was not reasonable for them to be able to access the training or education that they needed or wanted, leaving them with an important knowledge and skills gap, and no really good way to close it. Fast forward to the 21st century and the year 2020, learning has never been more accessible to more persons than it is now. The reach of e-learning today is greater than ever, with the most rapid growth happening in emerging economies working to close the education gap. The combination of low ongoing costs, high convenience, and high accessibility are transforming e-learning into the predominant global educating force of the 21st century. And on days like this, with the global threat of the coronavirus, meetings, conferences, and training sessions have been canceled around the world. A decade ago, that would have meant that a person's education had to be put on hold, but that's no longer true. We can continue to acquire the skills and knowledge that we need through online training options. In my own country of Canada, most of our schools have been closed and persons are being asked to work from home if they're able to. Images on news stations around the world are showing us families that are confined to their homes. It doesn't take long before persons begin to get bored, having watched all the TV they could possibly want to and read every book that they have on hand. The internet is allowing us to stay in touch with each other and keep up with the latest developments and safety procedures, like washing our hands often. That very same internet gives us all access to unlimited learning, whether that's informally through things like YouTube channels and TED Talks, or in more formal ways like completing courses in the Learning Academy, which I'll talk more about in a moment. In fact, the modern learner expects to be able to access information when and where they need it. It's how we feel right now with respect to the information about the coronavirus. With widespread access to the internet and the use of smartphones, information and education is now available in anyone's hands, regardless of their geographic location or their socioeconomic status. The modern learner needs to engage in lifelong learning. The fact that training can be made available through an internet portal makes the pursuit of continuous education more convenient and accessible than going to a traditional school or physical location. And now that so many families are in self or government-imposed isolation, we need to find productive things to do while staying at home. Through online platforms like the Learning Academy, you can access training and certification on just about any topic. And doing so means that you can invest in yourself and make the most of this time. And in order to respond to the immediate need for high-quality online training, we are gathering courses from the brightest minds we know around the world and adding courses ongoing. By April 1st, we'll be adding 6 more courses by stress and resiliency expert Beverly Bowerman King. Given the uncertainty that we're all living with right now, I'm certain that these courses will be really valuable resources. As a modern learner, e-learning opens up a whole new and exciting treasure chest of opportunity. Now let's talk about e-learning in your business. Employees still need to learn. Clients still need to know how to use your products and services. While we're seeing economic uncertainty, this does not mean that companies need to put their knowledge acquisition on hold. In fact, if business is a bit slower in the weeks to come, this could provide 2 opportunities. People will have time on their hands and can do some self-directed learning, like I mentioned earlier. And your subject matter experts may have some downtime that they could use to gather content in order to create online learning programs for the future. When we have sufficient time and budget, the right way to go about building e-learning is in a software called Articulate. That's the global gold standard. But right now, we're pushed for time. So if you have in-person courses that you want to convert to online courses quickly, it may be possible to do so using tools like PowerPoint in concert with Articulate. To do so, you need to get the help of a learning designer to help you make that magic happen. We can also use tools like VidGrid to help you turn what would have been a live presentation or demonstration by, say, a subject matter expert into videos that can be used for learning and teaching. Again, if this is something that you would like to pursue, I would encourage you to reach out to me afterwards. And we can help you take your live events online using tools like Zoom. In this way, you can gather hundreds of people together in an online meeting room. Now keep in mind that it does take a bit of talent to facilitate an effective online meeting or event. So do reach out if you'd like some help with that. You and your organization can use this time to leverage e-learning, whether that's to invest in training and education during a potentially quiet period, or to take this time to move your in-person training, meetings, and conferences into online events or courses. I encourage everyone to make the transition to digital learning. The power to do so is at your fingertips. whether that's through the Learning Academy or with the help of WeLoveLearning. I thank you kindly for your time and attention, and I'll be pleased to answer any questions that you might have later in this session, or you can connect with me directly using any of these digital channels.
Thanks, Janet. Great. So thank you for that. We are going to hold questions to the end after everybody has done their presentation. And so at Geotech Vision, we've always partnered with the best of industry. And in this case, we've partnered with Radix. And today, Michael Shoham, the CEO of Radix, a leading provider of cutting-edge device management solution, which focuses on education, VR, and enterprise single-purpose devices, is here to share with us. Michael brings with him many years of experience in business development, IT, and network projects. He's passionate about technology, sports, music, and art. And Michael will demonstrate for us the Radix Visual solution, as well as our classroom management solution. Over to you, Michael.
Hey, thank you, Valerie. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to start with a short explanation or a short brief explanation about what Radix is all about. So hold on a second. Okay, so Radix has been around for many years now. In the past 5 years, we've been developing solutions that are based on our cloud platform for remote device management, mainly around education. We've been doing education solutions for many years now, and for the past 5 years, we ported everything to the cloud. That allows us to actually manage remote devices that are scattered all over your schools, districts, home, countries, anywhere that devices are being used, and especially in education, because education has its own very special requirements with a lot of hands-on management, including from the IT side and also from the teacher side, but not only. So we're going to take a look at some of the tools that are available for both the IT staff that are supposed to manage hundreds, thousands, and even hundreds of thousands of devices at once. Most of them are not in their hands, of course. They're scattered all over the country. And on the other side, there's, of course, a need for the teacher to manage devices in the classroom. So today, we're not going to focus on the classroom per se, but we're going to focus on a virtual classroom, which is the next generation of a traditional classroom. So this is the dashboard of our device management platform, where you can see all your devices, all the devices that you have in your state. If you are a school district, if you're even a country with managing country level projects, we're able to manage all the devices that are enrolled for education, meaning that any device that is in the hand of a student, it can be a Chromebook, a tablet, an iPad, a VR device, Android devices, phones, anything that is a device used in education. We're able to remotely install applications, send policies and updates and usage policies and what is allowed or not allowed in your school or district. We can group the devices into different categories in different schools and different areas, and allowing IT personnel to do a lot of tasks such as remote installations, alert messages, get device assets, and so on. But this is a very, very big topic that we're not going to focus on today, where this is used mainly for the IT, but today we're going to focus on another module of this platform, which is called the teacher view. So the teacher view is the same exact platform, but converted differently into a different UI, a different set of capabilities that allows a teacher in a classroom to coordinate a lesson. So what the tools that are available for the teacher are a bit different than the ones that are available for the IT. Consider a classroom with a multiple type of devices. Here we have a Windows device, a Chromebook, another Chromebook, a Windows device running Chrome, Android tablets. So all of them can be nested in the same place. This is a mixed environment. They can all the students can come with their own device. And what the teacher has is a bird's eye view of everything that's happening right now in the classroom. They can see what the students are doing. You can see that this one is using Wikipedia. This one is using Wikipedia, which is great. This is what it's supposed to be. We have tools to lock devices for attention, so that the students are not able to touch anything, and they have only the ability to listen to the teacher. The teacher can share the screen, engage in an interactive, collaborative whiteboard, chat with the students, and of course, engage with surveys and quizzes. So this is an additional to a lot of things that you would expect from a teacher inside a classroom. But today's topic is about distant learning. So why are we bringing a classroom management solution into this game? So Radix included, since this is a cloud-based classroom management solution, which was predominantly designed for a frontal classroom, meaning that the teacher stands in front of a classroom full of students with different type of devices. We ported everything, including the conferencing capabilities, into one platform. So this makes it a not only a classroom management solution, but also a conferencing solution together. So Zoom was mentioned, and we're using Zoom today, which is great for something that like I'm doing right now. I'm talking, you're listening, you're seeing what I'm seeing and what I'm presenting. You're being a bit passive in this case, and I have no interest whatsoever knowing what you're doing except listening to me. But in a classroom environment, it is a bit different. You need to know what your students are doing. You need to engage with them. You need to have a finger on the pulse and understand exactly what's going on. And when you're talking, you need them to listen. And when you are sharing something, you need them to be sure that this is what they're doing. So including the capabilities of a conferencing tool with the capabilities of a classroom management tool brings a perfect solution, mainly for early classes, like up to 5th grade or so. That includes the capability of what you expect in the classroom, but also with the ability to share your, let's take some of our students here and ask them to share the, I'm not sure I can do that right now. Anyway, the capability of launching the camera and seeing what they're doing in real time. Let me check why I think that the Zoom and this is not working in combination at the moment. But what I will have is a small thumbnail with a small video of what each and one of my students is actually presenting in his camera. I'll be able to present my camera to them. They will see it in the same time. So we will have the joint experience of a classroom alongside with the teacher capability of managing the students in real time. So this is a great combination, mainly for teachers and that are not used to working in a, let's say, e-learning environment where they post a task and it is going to be self-paced, but more of a situation like we have today, that this kind of forced us to take the entire school day and make it available as you expect, to continue like nothing happened and engage with your students while they're at home. So the teacher will expect something. The students will expect the teachers to be available for them at all time during that lesson period. So this is what we're bringing with the VISO solution. We're able to see that one student here is watching a video, which is not supposed to be, he's not supposed to be doing in the classroom. He's supposed to be practicing something right now. So we can terminate that tab and the video will terminate, and he's back on his task and mission. So it's not enough for you guys to be browsing while I'm talking, which is perfectly fine. But in a teacher-student classroom scenario, at a specific given time, you are you have to have the finger on the classroom pulse. And this is more or less what we're bringing today, which is very, very different than a traditional or a standard conferencing tool used by enterprises and tools that are being used for online webinars or something like that. This is an engaging classroom experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. All right, so I'm sure that there's some questions for you, but we're gonna hold those until after Hugh does his presentation. So a crisis comes with opportunities, and so this one is no different. As the global pandemic advances, Geotech Vision believes it's an opportunity for organizations to leapfrog that digital transformation. And the fact is, we are in a digital world, and the students are growing up in a digital world, and a strong understanding of the digital world is essential for them to really function in today's world. And so whether it's conducting research, whether it's checking a bank account, whether it's purchasing a product, or simply keeping in touch with a friend, technology is playing a part of every one of us' life, and it's no different for students. So it's an opportunity to get them there. And so in keeping with that mission, to increase literacy among students, Geotech Vision launched its Students Digital Citizenship Program last year. And at that time, Geotech Vision donated not only our Geo tablets, but also Edco Digital Tutor to students. And today, we will be demonstrating the Edco Digital Tutor. And to do that, I have Hugh Cargill on hand. And Hugh is our education specialist who will be demonstrating EDICOM, which is ideal for students who are looking for cost-effective, self-paced online tutoring. And so EDICOM provides quality educational solutions, accessible anytime, anywhere you have internet access, or if you have the flash drive version of EDICOM. So Hugh, could you handing over to you to take us through a quick demonstration of EDICOM solution.
Sure, so good morning, everyone. Just setting up to share my screen now. Right, so what Edco has done in terms of EDICOM is actually for each country set up aligned content for the students' curriculum. So what the students will be learning at school, that's what's on the platform. And so the students can be engaged at home, and the teacher will pace the same lesson that they're going through at school. We go through and we work with the teachers to set up all the different learning objects that they need to teach. So I'm just going to give you a couple samples of that. As you look at your different regions and country, just know that Edco would align to those local curriculum. So what the students have as tutorials, the teachers would use in the classroom to teach the students. And an example of that is, for example, here. What is multiplying fractions all about? The students can go through this at home, or the teacher would use the same exercise at school. So it goes through step by step. The students can learn, the teacher would ask relevant questions. It's just basically developing a conceptual understanding of what multiplying fractions is all about. It's really a fraction of a fraction. So we really focus on developing conceptual understanding, and a lot of that comes out in the learning objects that we create. If we look at another one, like for example, faces, edges, and vertices, all of this would be provided at the child's level and according to their curriculum. And so the child can go through with their parent and learn. And the learning management platform allows the teacher to watch everything that the child does. So everything is clocked, and the teacher can enter into any tutorial and look at the amount of time the student would have spent there, what they would have practiced on their own, the assessments they would have done. All of that is generated, and everything in terms of grades, it goes right back to the teacher's grade book at school or wherever they are. All right, so these are just basically samplers. It helps to build conceptual understanding of what they're learning. I'll show you just a small bit of that in terms of, for example, if we're trying to help a student to understand what volume is all about, we take 1 unit of volume. And each time I'm hitting the space bar to continue. So the students would go through step by step along with the parents, or if they feel embarrassed, they can keep going over by themselves. We fit 1 unit of volume into this cuboid that we have here. So the child would see that there is 15 cubes of 1 unit volume that fits 1 layer, and then how much layers we have, and things like that. We use it to build conceptual understanding. I'm going to show you a little bit now about practicing. So, you know, mathematics, and we also cover English and science as well. It covers a lot of examples. So again, some samplers here. So not only does the software use multiple choice and so on, but the student can plot a graph, for example, for the set of inequalities here. And shade. I'm going quickly, so more than likely I'll get it wrong. Right? And then they would get it incorrect, but the solution is here. So they don't have to feel embarrassed. They click on the solution, and then step by step, they go through to get an understanding of what the exercise is asking of them. And then all they have to do is click a new version, and it's an infinite amount of versions, so they can practice until they get it with the help built in. All right, let me show you another quick example. All right, let's go to continuous assessment. So we call this MOPS, multiple option practice sheet. And what you see on your screen here are all the prerequisites for multiplying or working with fractions. So students need to know these prerequisites before they can actually work with fractions. For example, reducing fractions. They have this worksheet here. They can customize the worksheet. So with solutions, without solutions, and so on in test mode, they can set a time limit, and they'll get a customized worksheet. And again, it's an infinite amount of sets. And as soon as they're done, they'll get the solution, so they can keep practicing at home with any math concept according to their level. And certainly they won't get bored because they will be engaged and they can move through and certainly develop math skills. Let me show you another sample of what we give in terms of EDICOM. This learning object is geared towards building, you know, math reflexes, bringing back quickly concepts. So for example, if we pick this one that has to do with polynomials, and here we have 10 questions, it's geared towards really building up those reflexes. So we go 1 minute and we click start. So the constant here is 1, constant there is 0, many terms 3, the degree is 6, degree there is 0, it's 5, coefficient of x to the 5th, That's a monomial. That's not a polynomial. And this one here is a trinomial. So I got all right, but then I actually got one wrong. I can set a lower time limit or pick a different concept and work on my reflexes, bringing back those concepts quickly. So that's a little bit about EducoSoft. As I told you, it is geared towards your local curriculum. It's customized towards that. So if you are in Strand 1 or Grade 1 or Form 11, you will get content according to that grade level. To get onto EducoSoft, you can visit the website, educosoft.com, or link with Geotech. Geotech has their academy set up right now. So they are using EducoSoft and can bring that solution to you. So thank you, Valerie. Over back to you.
All right, thank you, Hugh. So thanks, everyone. So at this point in time, we have seen from Janet how we can leverage learning in these challenging times, e-learning that is, to understand and help understanding how maybe a learning experience designer can help you with this. We have also seen how, from Michael, you can create a virtual classroom in which there can be active learning and a conferencing solution so that you can monitor what the child is actually doing in a classroom setting. And you have the feel of a physical classroom in a virtual environment. And we've seen a learning management system in play. In fact, we've seen more than one. We've seen the Learning Academy and we've seen EducoSoft, where Hugh was actually going through working problems. We've seen Michael being in Israel, but having persons in Jamaica connected to the Radix Visio solution. So it doesn't depend on your location. Location doesn't matter once you have that connection. And so right now we open it up to questions to each of the various presenters from the audience. So feel free to pose your questions so we can get those answered for you.
For anyone who would like to ask a question, just be sure to unmute yourself.
Are there any questions at this time?
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Hi, how are you doing? My name is Ian Williams from Tobago Information Technology Limited.
Hi, Ian. Welcome.
Nice. I have a few questions with regards to the Radix solution, which you showed there. With regards to capacity, I wanted to get some questions in terms of the capacity. You know, if you're doing some setups with multiple tutors, you know, is there limits in terms of simultaneous, the amount of children, if you want to deploy this with 500 or probably even 1,000 persons, is that possible? You know, things like the bandwidth consumption and how the rollout is dealt with and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I got the first question, and the question is there a limit to the number of students? So technically, there is no limit to the number of students. We can manage hundreds of thousands of devices or students and on the same platform. There is a practical limitation to a number of students in one classroom because this is not a lecturing system. This is not a webinar system. This is a classroom management. So technically, there's up to like in the worst case, there are up to like 40 students in one classroom. So the way that we laid out the different thumbnails, I didn't show them. Okay, they could be scaled according to the number of students. You can make it smaller or bigger depending on the number. And have as many as you want. They can sync with Google Classroom, for example, and get all the different classroom layouts. And the teacher will have the ability to select in which period they are right now on, and then once they log into that classroom, they get all the students connected immediately. So there is no limit to the number of students, but there is one teacher per session, meaning that you can have thousands of sessions at the same time, but every classroom is one teacher per se. And I didn't get the second question.
Right, so that definitely answers my question. Despite it being a high number of persons, I think the intent is to break classes into, probably about 30, so that we could still have that effective learning taking place.
Yes.
What about things like bandwidth considerations, and how do you roll this out? What's the usual lead time in rolling something like this out? I know it'll vary, but just give us a breakdown on how that works.
Okay, so the bandwidth consumption is different, and our agent side knows how to adjust to the available bandwidth during a lesson. So if you're not sharing video, just like we're doing now, if we are sharing video, then the consumption, of course, is higher. But if you're not sharing video, it is very, very static. A thumbnail typically changes every 3 seconds, and it is very compressed, meaning that it will not take too much bandwidth every screen thumbnail. When you're sharing your screen, then you don't open a separate session from your computer to every other student. You're using a very advanced protocol that is just multiplying that screen without taking extra bandwidth. So it is, in case the internet connection is not stable and is not that, let's say, powerful, you're still able to connect your students to the same classroom. The video quality may drop accordingly because it has an automatic scaling training variations inside that video.
Michael, we have a question from someone online, from Ashley. She says that most of the presentations were focused on teacher-student e-learning opportunities. However, her interest is using these platforms to conduct seminars in offices or in a business setting. How can the platforms discussed assist in educating staff in a firm? So I'll answer that on behalf of the Leadership Academy, and then maybe Michael and even Hugh can talk to your products as well. So I spend my entire time educating adults as opposed to students or kids. I am, as an instructional designer, like I said, I work with businesses. We take their content and we create courses out of that content. And that is for the purpose of educating their employees or their customers, or both sometimes. And the Leadership Academy is a space, is an online learning management system where we have gathered some of the best courses that we've worked with others to create over the past several years. And we're putting them all in one place so that business persons can go to that place and know that they're going to get really high quality training. There is lots of e-learning out there in the world. The Leadership Academy is sort of a repository of really high quality e-learning. And so I could go off on a tangent about different qualities of e-learning. There's everything from really kind of crummy e-learning out there to really awesome e-learning. And so we're only putting really good stuff into the Leadership Academy so that you can trust that source. But it specifically is targeted at business persons, so people working in businesses around the world. Michael and Hugh, did you want to speak to your platforms and how they could be used in a business setting? Oh, you're on mute, Michael. Hang on, let's switch it. Oh.
Usually
Sorry.
The business environment is using tools such as Zoom, where you're just sharing a video, or you're just sharing a canvas, or you're sharing your screen. Let's just top back to our platform once again. I'll show you just a couple of things that you can use around in the business environment. So if you can see at this time, I can also share a camera, meaning that I can launch my camera again, and these two students will launch their camera with me. So it is it is an also a shared let's say. It can be just like a conference room. It is the same exact thing. We can also share a whiteboard where we can contribute and participate and add all the students that are connected with the same to the same platform, and they can write with us on this canvas. So if you're talking about a specific if you're drawing something or a specific use case, you can share these kind of canvas around. You can allow your staff to work on the same place. But traditionally speaking, what we're doing is more around the device itself, more around the ability to do things around the device itself, to remote control, to lock the device for attention. Enterprise tools like Zoom are more suitable for a lecture type or a business type of environment. This is my take on the difference between this traditional classroom management and what you would like to do in your own business environment.
I'm going to jump in there again, Michael, because I want to make sure that people realize that Zoom is, I guess, it is a digital form, a form of digital learning, but it's what we would call live instructor-led learning, which is similar to what Michael's system does, because he talks about the teacher and the student being there at the same time. And as he alluded to earlier, Zoom is a very passive style of learning. It works really well. It's a meeting tool, you know, and it can be used for delivering presentations, especially in difficult times like this when we're trying rapidly to just, you know, put a reasonable solution in place. But I'm also going to share my screen because, oh, yeah, I'm going to take it away from you there, Michael, and I'm going to share my own screen here. Really, what I typically do is not live in Zoom, but I actually, my team and I, we create courses. So here are some examples. You should see them on your screen now. This is a mental health certificate that we created for one of our clients, and these courses are going to be available in the Leadership Academy or Learning Academy starting on April 1st. So these are examples of what we would call self-directed learning, meaning you and the instructor and the student are not there at the same time. I could do this in the middle of the night if that's what it happened to. You know, I couldn't sleep and I got up and I was looking for something productive to do because I'm sitting in isolation, and I could go online and I can do, you know, a course. Let's say I'm feeling very anxious about what's going on. I could go on and do a course about anxiety and, you know, help myself work through that. Or it's something you could make available to your colleagues, your employees, if you feel that because of what's going on, anxiety is an issue for lots of persons. So there is definitely a difference between using something like Zoom or a live instructor-led classroom tool versus creating self-directed learning that a person can do really any time of the day. It doesn't matter day or night, time zones don't matter, and you don't have to coordinate everyone coming together at a specific time. And the learning landscape is big enough that there is room for both of these in it. My 2 cents. Hugh, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, let me just jump in here. So Edco primarily focuses on empowering students and teachers. However, for company-based learning, like I think of professional exams, what we've done in terms of creating capacity for employees is have what we call a test prep portal. And so the individual, if they have a professional exam that they want to do, we create that course for them, and then they can go through systematically and get tested at each level as they prepare for this professional exam. So we also offer that service in terms of our test prep portal.
for the Helen, Ashley, or for the question, Ashley.
All right. Thanks.
All right, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can I pose a question? Oh, we're still? Okay. Janet, I think this question is kind of directed to you. This is Loyston. So in a corporate setting, I'd like to get a better understanding of the range of professional service or segments that you offer your Learning Academy and the repository content that you refer to.
Okay.
How would I see that? Because I can see of a couple of different applications in a professional services organizations that are now struggling, quite frankly, in the wake of COVID-19. That essentially personnel are displaced. There's it's a stay-at-home policy right now, work from home, but they're struggling now to how to keep people on the same page. Corporate training still goes on. How do I get to see what the range of curriculum options you have?
So that's a huge question because e-learning is a full spectrum of things. Most persons have an idea of what e-learning is based on what your experience is. So if you've been on a Zoom webinar, for example, you may think that's what e-learning is, but it's one type of e-learning. And as I alluded to earlier, it's a live instructor-led type. So in these times, everything's moving very quickly. Some organizations already have in-person courses that they deliver and need to continue to deliver. So there are ways we can very quickly convert that by using something like Zoom, which isn't fantastic, but maybe Michael and I could partner together and it could be better. There's so many moving parts right now. Ordinarily, we might be taking that in-person course and transforming it into an actual self-directed online learning program that a person would do anytime, anywhere, and then you would have it again and again and again. It's really good for things like onboarding programs, right? Because you might have somebody, in a different time, not in these treacherous times, but you might have somebody who starts working on Monday, and then you have another new person, the following Monday, and then the following Friday, and you don't have the opportunity. It's just not cost effective to constantly be offering that onboarding course every time you have one or two new people arrive. And so taking something like that and transforming it into an online learning solution makes a lot of sense financially for business, because now it can be offered on the very day that a person starts forever. And it can be updated really easily once you have that digital course that exists. So normally, under normal circumstances, we take content, whether it exists in a course already or whether it's just a big old binder of content, and we transform that into a course that is self-directed. Right now, my team and I are constantly looking for ways that we can help people and businesses specifically, who need to get stuff done quickly, like the quick and dirty kind of thing. So if you have a PowerPoint presentation, how can we take that, juice it up a bit, and turn it into a self-directed course? Or how can we help facilitate the happening of an online event so that it's interactive? Because as Michael alluded to earlier, Zoom is an extraordinarily passive style of learning. I'm talking, everybody else is listening. And so the learner retention rates are very low. And as a purist, as an instructional designer, I would say that that's not good, right? But there are ways, if you have the, sort of the skills and some practice at it, to make Zoom sessions more interactive. It's not going to necessarily replace that live in-person course that you might have otherwise had, but it can also be very good. And there's sort of a small group of people globally who've gotten very good at that skill. The other thing is that I'm a member of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, and as such, I kind of have my tentacles across the country of Canada and around the world, because we're part of the Global Speakers Federation. So if you need training on a certain topic, I probably can pull somebody in. I'm a designer, but I have to pull in subject matter experts all the time to help us build content for clients. We can do the same now for a live delivery using something like Zoom. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, I think you're on the right track there, because it's and I'm thinking, I know of a couple law firms, for instance, that are essentially national here in the United States. They've told everybody, go home, work from home. But as you say, delivery requirements still continues. So how do you approach those kind of solutions is what it sounds like you're alluding to, and I just want to tap you on and find out what your capabilities are.
Yeah, and using something like the Learning Academy, we can even sort of create a course that's just for your eyes only, for your organization.
Right.
So put
That's going to be
boundaries
critical.
about who could see it. And then inside that course, even again, in these days of quick and dirty, so like the purist in me just cringes when I say these things, but we could assemble a bunch of things. Like there might be a video that's a recording of a Zoom meeting that you have on the topic, plus a PDF, plus maybe an infographic or some worksheets or things like pieces that we just parcel together in a what I would call a quick and dirty in order to meet your immediate needs. If we had more time, I wouldn't necessarily say that's the best way to do it, but we're kind of in a situation where is better, is decent, good enough in this situation, and then we can kind of clean it up and tidy it up as we go.
Sounds good. Sounds great.
Just one thing I want to mention is that we are conducting during these times a bi-weekly webinar on how to use the different platforms, whether you're an IT or a teacher or anything like that. We have a bi-weekly webinar that is, of course, open to anyone who registers, no matter what type of devices they manage, no matter if they're a teacher or IT or a principal, they can join and learn more about how to install and use device management and classroom management solutions.
Additionally, the Learning Academy will also be doing a series of webinars as we go forward in this time to just help persons to kind of navigate these challenging times. So that's something else that you all can look out for. I noticed that one of the questions or one of the comments spoke to the fact that, these are great tools that are technologically focused, but we still have the challenge of one, bandwidth and technology, and the fact that there are still people who are in the underserved area where they do not have access to these digital devices. We're very cognizant of it. And in fact, that's one of the things that we spoke to in terms of we have launched our student digital citizenship program at Geotech Mission, and that's one of the areas that we're addressing. We're going out and we're attacking the underserved and underrepresented communities, because we live in a digital world and we believe that the only way for everyone to function is to be able to have access to the technology and to be able to use these technological tools responsibly. I know it does not address the immediate challenge with maybe the millions of people who don't have it, but I always go back to saying never doubt that a few committed citizens can change the world. It's the only thing that ever has. So we have to do our individual steps to make sure that we can get that moving. Are there any other questions or comments?
Actually, there's a question online from Michelle. Looking at, she works with emerging youth entrepreneurs, trying to expose her students to a lot of practical exercises, such as creating tangible products for sale. How would I use these platforms to assess students' practical skills? I can't specifically answer the last piece of that question, Michelle, but I did want to make you aware of, I'm going to share my screen. Here in Canada, WeLoveLearning has a client named SmartNet Alliance, and we are just working with them creating a 19-course certificate program for entrepreneurs who specifically are working in the green energy sector. I've already approved 5 of the courses. They're just not posted yet, but those are going to be available free on their website probably in the next week or so. So it'll be the first 5 will go up, and then there'll be just more and more and more. So I would bookmark that site, Michelle, smartnetalliance.ca. And I believe the button for these free online courses is going to be under the resources tab. So have a look there in about a week, and you can definitely share those with your students, although they don't specifically speak to products and they are kind of skewed towards the green energy sector and they are a Canadian client. Just keep those things in mind. There's a lot of really, really good content in those courses.
And I think the only thing that I would add to that, Janet, is that in addition to, so we have the collaborating platforms that we can use to assess certain things, but if you want to actually see the physical product and touch it, then we'll have to combine it with something else. And that means there are technological ways to do it, whether that be the three-dimensional ways. We're touching a whole other realm, and it also depends on the type of product that you're talking about. So that is but there are definitely solutions that could be paired to give you a good enough assessment of what their practical skills are based on that.
I would add to that, Valerie, that in the teaching world, when we set learning objectives for any kind of training, we have the cognitive, physical, and affective domains that we work with. And kind of the general rule that we follow is that if you can test it online, then you can teach it online. There are some things that you can definitely test online. Knowledge acquisition is a super easy one. Does the person know the 10 ingredients required for baking a cake, or do they know the steps to follow to baking a cake? But can they bake a cake that tastes good when you eat it? That's really hard. I guess we have kind of smell-o-vision now, but I don't know that we have taste-o-vision on computers yet. So when you have to have something that has to be demonstrated, your taste buds, I have seen some really interesting virtual reality work out of, I think it was Ireland, where they actually have incorporated smell into virtual reality now, but that's very, very leading edge, and it's not a quick and dirty overnight thing, that's for sure. So there are definitely things you can test online, and then there are some times where you still can't test that online. We're just not there yet as a community of e-learning.
Yep. All right, so it looks like we are getting to the bottom of the hour, and so I don't know if there are any other questions or comments. All right, so with that, we thank you very much for joining us this morning. We wanted to have the opportunity to really help you to see that, your virtual educational systems as well as your professional systems doesn't have to close in this time of crisis. And so we're here to help at Geotech Vision with our partners. We have many solutions that can assist you. And today we want to invite you to make use of the opportunities that we have, both with the Radix Advisor solution, where any person who onboards has a 3-month complimentary access to the solution. So you want to examine that, reach out to us. We will give you further information on that. There's also a 50% discount on courses that is being offered through the Learning Academy. And so you can visit us at the learningacademy.xyz to find out more about that. And with that, I thank you very much for joining us this morning. We look forward to seeing you in the weeks ahead as we continue our webinar series.